Hope everyone is having a good Wednesday afternoon. We'll give it about one more minute and then we'll go ahead and get started for today. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for today's webinar, Built for What's Next, How Smart Organizations Reinvent and Grow, featuring Hurrdat. My name is Jenny Tukeski, and I am the Programming and Communications Manager here for the Better Business Bureau. Just a quick housekeeping information for you. As I stated, we are recording today's webinar, and this will be sent out to you later on in a follow-up email, just so you have as a future reference, but also the presentation will be attached in that email for you to use too. Also, if you have any questions during the webinar, please go ahead and submit them in the chat, and we will get to all the questions by the end of the presentation today. For today's session, it's in regards to promising to be both insightful and inspiring as we explore how forward-thinking teams are adapting, innovating, and strengthening their foundations to remain competitive and resilient in an ever-changing landscape. Throughout today's discussion, we'll hear practical strategies for reinvention, organizational alignment, and long-term sustainability. It is my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Chris Gorman. Chris serves as the Senior Vice President at Hurrdat, where he has been a key leader since 2015. In his role, he oversees the company's podcast network and sports media divisions, including Hurrdat Sports and Hill Varsity, as well as Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Chris has also played a central role in building the strategic partnerships with organizations such as Maha Festival, the PGA Corn Ferry Tour, Union Omaha, Omaha Storm Chasers, and the Supernovas. In recognition of his leadership and impact within the community, Chris has also been named as one of Omaha's 40 under 40. So Chris, thank you so much for being with us today, and I will turn it all over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome. So I feel free to jump in with any questions. I want this to be as interactive as possible. So feel free to fire those in the chat. You'll notice some supernovas imagery in today's talk. I wanted to use them because they're a really good example of how to make organizational change really quickly, which in this day and age is really important to be able to pivot quickly. Like back in the day, projects were, hey, that's a next year thing, or that's a, next 5-year goal. Things are moving so quickly. And the supernovas are a really good example of, hey, things that we have to do to make changes quickly to win championships. So I'll be talking about that some in here. But again, thanks, Better Business Bureau, for having me. Ever since I was a little kid, I was always trained to trust the Better Business Bureau. So I appreciate you guys joining. I appreciate the opportunity. So I wanted to start with just an overview. I'm guessing some of you have had some kind of experience with Hurrdat, whether it's through the marketing agency, the sports. One of the new networks that we started is called Hurrdat One, and that is more about local Omaha content for, hey, the bars are opening, these are restaurants, these are events that are happening. It's more covering that from a similar sports angle, how we cover it and what we talk about, but just for the community. Hurrdat, I've been here 11 years. I was working at a job that was really good, is really fulfilling, but at the end of the day, it wasn't what I wanted to do. When I graduated college, I went and joined some bands on tour, and I was their marketing manager and tour manager for a cross-country tour. For anybody over maybe 40, you'll remember MySpace, and that was our lifeblood. We either did a really good job at marketing or we didn't eat. So that's where I really fell in love with marketing. I'd write our blogs, I'd put up all our photos. Back in the day, like we didn't have iPhones, so we had to go find, for any younger folks, this will sound a little strange, but we had to go find internet cafes, or somebody's parents that would let us use their home computer to upload these things. So it was a lot harder back in the day, but really trained us to be good marketers for the bands. So um, got done with that tour, moved back to Nebraska. These are where my roots are. I'm originally from North Platte. Like I'm such a Nebraska homer. I think there's really cool stuff happening, and you don't need to be in Los Angeles, New York, Vegas, Dallas, Houston, wherever, to be part of it. Like things are happening in this city, in this state, and I think those are really important. So that's why we've chosen to build this business here. So, like Hurrdat at the top here, like that's the parent organization. It's also generally what we refer to when we're talking about our digital marketing. And that's SEO, web, a lot of strategy in there. And then these are all the sub brands, which they can get confusing at times, but we've really tried to like shore these up. The first one with the sound waves coming out of it. So that's Hurrdat Media. That's our podcasting division. That's where all of our podcasts from, the ones that we have with like our Bravo celebrities, like our Real Housewives, like that's where they're at. Also has all of our local podcasting as well. So everything production wise happens through there. Lucas Partners, you might be familiar with them. They've won like PR of the year for the last like 20 years. If you worked with Joan Lucas, you know how awesome she is. So we just acquired their company this year to be able to bolt that on. Hurrdat Brand Goods, that third one over there. And these all have a theme and these all kind of have a point. So, Hurrdat Brand Goods is an apparel company. I believe we have 11 heads for embroidery. We have this crazy machine called the Rock, which looks like a giant octopus that can print 500 shirts an hour. We have a sticker machine. We have a laser engraver, like really everything that we were paying other people for, we brought in house. And that's been a core theme of ours is we want to be able to control as much as we can control, especially when it comes to marketing, and then be able to offer that out to our clients without having to find like vendors, partners, or one thing I'll talk about later is renting your audience. Um, Hurrdat Sports, this is one of our fastest growing properties. For any marketing folks in the room, our first year we did about 1 billion impressions. Last year we did two. This year we're on pace to do about 2.5 or 3 billion impressions. Nice thing about those is they're really intentional impressions of people seeing our content. They're covering sports in a really cool way in our state. My brother is a coach at a high school down in Texas, and like for everything that the Texas totes about, they're like they have stadiums for high schoolers that look like Memorial Stadium. The way we cover things up here is by far and away more interesting. There's more content. It's shot in a really cinematic way. And we're helping Nebraska kids get recruited by getting their name out there and showing their highlights. If you don't follow Hurrdat Sports, it's a really good follow, especially if you have any kids that are in school. And then we have Hurrdat One. That's our local podcasting and content. That's where we cover everything from like, hey, we have a bunch of local podcasters like Van Deeb, like he's on our network. He talks a lot about, the power of positivity. And then any of the other like content that we put out about openings. If you guys have any businesses that seem cool and interesting, like by all means, like shoot me an email. We'd love to come cover what you guys are doing out there. This is really a place for us to pump up Omaha. So, and last one's just still Hurrdat. That one we just that's more of our traditional side, and then we also added on like our billboards and be able to do traditional media. We started off. I don't know if anybody knows, but like Hurrdat was originally an idea that was born in a dorm room down at UNL with Blake Lawrence and Adi Kanolik. If any of you guys are football fans, you'll know. Blake, he was an incredible linebacker. And then Adi, if you guys have been to a football game and you hold up the shoe for kickoff, that originally started with Adi. So Hurrdat was actually started before Instagram was, which shows how smart those guys were to say that, hey, like companies are going to need help with their digital marketing, social media. They started two companies at the same time. One was for social media assistance for brands, and one was for NIL for athletes. And they started with Prince Mukamara as he was getting drafted. So that company is now called Open Doors, and they're fully over there. And then Hurrdat's completely over with us. And we keep bolting on, keep bolting on different companies and people. And we're just between like 150, 160 employees here from kind of where we once grew, which was about like seven or eight when I first started. So um, that's kind of the suite of companies that'll set the table for some of the other things that we're talking about. Today, we're really talking about how to build resiliency inside your organization, how to deal with change. So we've been a digital marketing agency from the get-go. It was not, hey, we were, selling yellow page ads, and then we saw the switch to digital and had to move over there. We've always been digital first. We've always tried to be on like the cutting edge of everything. We're doing some really cool stuff with AI right now, which, like, if you guys, I would be, so I'm a little conflicted on it. Like, AI is an amazing tool. Do I like it for creative things all the time? Not necessarily. But if you use it as a tool and get really good at it, it can like save you a lot of time. So even if you're just playing around with like a Claude account or like ChatGPT or whatever, find things that it can help you out with. Because there's a lot of things it can automate for you. Just don't use it to write your emails because I can always tell somebody uses an AI written email. So I talk to a lot of folks, and they see, hey, you're in sports, you're in podcasting, you're in restaurants. Like, this looks like a lot of fun. And especially when I talk to like high school or college students that want to work in sports, I try to talk them out of it. Because if your favorite thing about sports is watching your favorite team and hanging out with your friends and drinking beer, working in sports is going to make you hate sports. It is super fun, as long as you love telling stories and know that it's going to be a lot of hard work. I put up this photo. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Pinnacle Bank Championship, but last year, as we always do, there's generally some kind of storm. Some are big, some are small. Last year was a complete disaster. So, we spend months and weeks preparing for this. This is a huge event. We invite all of our clients out. I'd love to invite you guys on this call out as well. Just shoot me an email. We'll get you some tickets. But between Thursday and Friday's round, this massive storm came in. And so we started calling each other about like 4 or 5 a.m. saying, hey, this thing's going to happen. It's going to hit and it's going to be bad. So everything that we spent weeks, months setting up, the whole week before, like getting everything set up was completely destroyed. Like, these are two brand new tents that were being used for the first time, and we had to smash them together. I have this great picture of there's about 20 of us, Hurrdat associates, that just broke all these things down so we could fit them in a dumpster. But all of us are posing behind our pile of rubble. Everybody's smiling. Everybody's super excited, like that they're working together. Nobody got upset. Nobody got frazzled. And as we're talking about change, I think that's really important for organizations. And a little bit of our secret sauce is we are such problem solvers. And that's one of the number one things that we look for in our associates is, hey, like, how do I solve a bunch of different problems? Maybe related to your industry, but maybe not. Like, we had to figure out how to like get more of these tents, and we had to like get brand new merch because all of our merch was destroyed. There was one of the PGA scoreboards that was in the middle of the lake. Like, there's a bunch of things that everybody on that course had to solve. So, like, the things that I look for, especially when we're hiring, is like, hey, if you're really, really good at your job, that's awesome. But like, how do we go one step further and find people that are built that can solve problems really quickly? I talk about the supernovas a lot. We've been working with them all 3 years. I'll talk later about just like relationships, especially in Omaha. But it was a random text that I got over 3 years ago from a gentleman that worked at UNL and was helping them stand up this pro team. So I got a text and said, "Hey, you guys do sports marketing, right?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Would you be interested in working on the pro volleyball team that we're spinning up in Omaha?" And said, "Absolutely, yes." So we've been their agency of record since the beginning. I don't know if any of you guys have been to Supernovas games or followed along, but This is the first time pro volleyball has been in the United States in a significant way, and it just started 3 years ago. Which is, us Nebraskans were like, "Duh, you need to have professional volleyball in this country," because a lot of our favorite players, if they're Creighton, UNO, UNL, wherever, previous to 3 years ago, they were joining teams in other countries that didn't have televised games, where there wasn't a Starbucks, and you kind of lost track of some of your college players that you loved following. And now there's a couple leagues in this country where it's pretty amazing. Like, you could have a Husker national champion playing in December, and then the first week of January, they're stepping on a court as a professional, which is really cool for any sports fans. But that organization doesn't get built without really strong leadership and the ability to change. In their first year, they had to let a coach go within the first like 4 games. And that's a really hard thing to do, especially as we're talking about like leadership change. Um, any change is difficult when it comes to the organization, from, associates to offices, but to have your coach, the person you're supposed to be following, giving, direction and guidance to these players, it's very central to a team like that. But, they were willing to like make that change. Ended up winning a championship in their first year. This unfortunately happened again this year. In the middle of the season, found out it just wasn't working with the coach, and they decided to part ways. And there were folks that had to step up, including Coach Thomas had to step up, and I came within inches of winning another championship after they were basically ruled out of even making the playoffs. So having like the courage and the ability to like make these changes in a reasonable amount of time is, again, one of the things that we found really successful for us. Even though they're painful at the time, we know that we're always better off when we make these decisions. One thing that I always say is change isn't an event, but it's more of an operating system or an environment. Like, it's what we live in. And with technology, speeding up every single day, some new thing in AI, some new, like something speedy that's happening with chips, whatever. Change is always going to be a constant. And how do we deal with that at a growing rate? Especially with the ability to communicate with people these days. I feel like change is happening 24 hours a day. Like, none of us, especially any like business owners in the room, like, we don't have an 8 to 5. Like, you don't get to shut off your email at 5 and say like, "Hey, I'm done." Like, especially with the phones, it goes off all day, and it is generally solve my problem in so many words that are coming in. So one of the things that we wanted to do, if we're talking about all of our businesses back here, we wanted to own our change. Previously, we were renting audiences. We were, paying Facebook, or we were paying other outlets to get our content out. And so we just wanted to own all of it. The restaurant, like, people say, "Why do you guys own a restaurant?" Doesn't make any sense. We have so many live podcasts and so many live events. Last week we had Merritt Beeson, who did a fan meet and greet. Tommy Armstrong Jr. will be there this weekend. He's getting inducted into the Beef Hall of Fame. So we're gonna have some events there. We had Real Housewife come and do like a live podcast. And then very Nebraska, like, we had her and her fans go on I think we got Ollie the trolley, and they went and looked at Christmas lights in December, and like a really cool world-class experience. But when we were reaching out to like other venues and other bars, we were finding that they were really only giving us like kind of bad options for when we could do events. Like, "Hey, we have Tuesday at 2 p.m. or we have this like Thursday at like 10 a.m. Definitely nothing on the weekends, because we don't want to like mess with our regular crowd." So we built Hurrdat Sports Bar as our own venue that we could control, and it could be a physical extension of all of our brands. It also gives us a nice place where, hey, we can have sales meetings there, we can entertain, we can rent it out, and it's also a profit center. But we really wanted to own that change versus having to rent it from people. And one of the things I think we do really well here, there's just a lot of athletes. I was in band, so I'm not really an athlete, but I definitely like think like an athlete. And a lot of our folks think like athletes over here. They want to be told, like, hey, if they're dropping passes, like, how do we help you, catch passes? Like, how do we hit you in stride? We watch our game film quite a bit. We do, anytime we have a significant event, and I don't know if you guys have done this before, but, and there's some free software that I could probably send you, but we do a retro after every like large event or any like large change event. And we go through, and at first it's anonymous and people can just throw in whatever they want. On the left side of the software, and again, this is all free. You can do this. You can just have people add, hey, what went well, what didn't go well. And then the second round of that is people can go in and either upvote or downvote those things. So if you get a bunch of upvotes on those, probably means a lot of people agree on this, and those need to be prioritized on how you talk to it. And then if they're downvotes, those are things that we look at later or we deprioritize. Looks like there was a question in the chat, but I'm not that smart to figure out how to look at that. Let's see. Okay, cool. Yeah, if somebody has that question, I have no idea where it is. I'm such a Teams dork, so.
You're good. The question it was just what advice would you give organizations that are resistant to change?
Mm, okay, I it's not a good answer. It's like I wish I had like a silver bullet for you, but I think the biggest part of folks that are resistant to change need a roadmap. And I think I'll give you a really good example. We were on a project management system, and for like 100, 150 people that manage all these different digital like assets that we need to create, it gets messy really quickly. I'm a particularly unorganized person. I kind of like if you could see my desk, you'd understand like kind of the chaos, but I know where stuff is, but that doesn't help my associates nor my clients. So we had a project management system that it was fine. It was working okay, but it really wasn't as robust. It didn't have a mobile app. There's a lot of things that like were getting dropped because they were hard to find. So organizationally, we switched to Asana. And if there's any like digital marketing folks, you probably know what that is. Um, it was really painful. It took us about a year to create like rules, how we use this, how we do not use this, like how we track time, how we bill, like, but it was something that we were really clear with everyone out. So here's the advice I'll give. One, like you'll need to do it quickly, but the more you can prepare people for it so it doesn't feel big, scary, unannounced, and like really rapidly approaching, I think that helps. If you build the roadmap of like, hey, this is what we're going to do in phases. Phase one is this is our learning, this is how we're going to do it. And then phase two is we're going to implement it. And then phase three is how we're going to perfect it. That's two. And then three is like, I would steal this from a YouTube channel that we watch quite a bit from some RVers, but I use it in my daily life. And it's start small, start now. Um, if you are planning on some like sweeping change, I would get buy-in from um, like your champions, like so folks that have been at the organization a while. Get them excited about that, get them on board. Because if it just comes from like top-down leadership, I think we all know it's like, oh, hey, they're just telling us this thing. But it's almost like getting influencers for change inside your organization. Because if you can bring them in, your emerging leaders, your directors, I think that's how you get people on board. So, like, prepare people, have a very clear roadmap, and then get some influencers to be on your side on this whole deal. Another big example of change that we had to go through was we were talking about the restaurant. The restaurant wasn't always called Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. When we first started it, it was called Hale Varsity Club. And we thought it was a great idea. We thought the logo looked great. We thought the sign looked great. But one thing that we didn't account for is that this name, Hale Varsity Club, was causing a lot of confusion and almost like some anger too. So this is a photo from 2022. Signs up, looks great. The market confusion was one, do I need to be a member? Is this a clothing store? What is this, a nightclub? Is this for only watching like football? People didn't understand. The club really threw people off. The other thing was, is this is in Omaha. And there's some Jayskers out there, but there were a lot of Creighton fans that are like, I don't want to go to a Husker bar to watch my Creighton Blue Jays play UConn. So we realized that like, hey, we've segmented ourselves as like a Husker bar, and the name of the club like wasn't exactly hitting. So we made that change. Was it painful? Yes. Like I don't know if anybody's in like their like signage and having to like redo that, but it's really expensive. All of our apparel, we had to reprint, we had to get new domains, all new social profiles, like the whole show. But it was one of those things that we felt really necessary to do because we were just hearing feedback from a ton of people. And that's one of the biggest things is like, hey, listen to your feedback, especially in Omaha. Like they're honest and they're going to tell you like what they think. And those are your customers. So you can listen to them. So we made the change and now it's Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. People know exactly what it is. The name is in the title. The Hurrdat name is getting more recognition, day by day. Put up some new window signage to make it feel very bar and grill, bought some like new TVs, updated our technology inside. But that was one of the things that we knew we had to make the change. And back to what we were talking about is we talked about it for months and said like, hey, this is a change that we're going to do when it makes sense. I think we did it right after College World Series and before football season and volleyball season. So like we strategically like picked a time that it was going to work. Um, we let everybody know. And then we got buy-in from our leadership and also our associates, like why we were doing this. And they were able to kind of influence not only the new generation of folks coming in, but the current people there that might not have been there that long. So you get some influencers inside the organization. But this has been our front step for the brand. If any of you guys have been there, you know that there's a venue that's attached to this, and that's where we do a lot of our live podcasting from. So back to owning our audience and owning our change versus renting it. We really wanted to be able to control all of our experiences. I'm guessing a lot of you are small business owners. You're kind of in the golden age of local. I can remember back in the day, like local almost felt like a disadvantage. It's like, oh, hey, if you're an oil change company, you don't want to go up against Jiffy Lube because you're just, the local shop that's doing this. And they have, technology and all of this, whatever. These days, there seems to be a couple big switches. Like one, like people are looking for local, even so much. I don't know if there's any restaurant owners here or anybody that like DoorDashes, but like there's so many of these things called ghost kitchens on DoorDash. And they look sort of like a local restaurant, but if you look up the you look up the location where they're, actually making the food, it's generally like an IHOP or an Applebee's, Cheesecake Factory. But they're spinning up these brands to sort of feel local. And I think everybody on this call, if you own a business in Omaha, like I would hammer your local presence, that you're in the community, that you've been here for this many years, that like, hey, your neighbors. People like are looking for local partners. And then two, they're looking for authentic relationships. I talk about it here on the next slide, but like like the degrees of separation in Omaha are whittled way down. And also there's with this AI boom, there there's a craving for real analog interactions. I think there's some fatigue that's happening on your phone with all the like there's just so much content. Like back in the day, it was great and you just had Instagram and you had your 100 friends and you could see what they're up to. And now checking your social media, sometimes feels like a chore because I go through my Instagram, my TikTok, my Facebook, my Twitter, then I got to go to my LinkedIn, and then like, you're trying to get your email after that. it just seems kind of hard to manage. So people are really looking for analog experiences. One of the things that we ask a lot is, what do you want people to feel when they hear your business name? I bet everybody on this call, we could say, hey, tell me three businesses that you think are like key legacy businesses like here in Omaha. And then on the flip side is, hey, give me three businesses that have lost your business forever due to reputation. Could be valid, could be not valid, could be something that you heard third hand. But we think about this a lot with all of our branding, how we interact with people, like the things that like we wear. We want people to feel a certain way when they hear our business name. And back to talking about like game film, I think it's really important that people have honest conversations internally, externally about how your brand is viewed from an external standpoint. If you can be honest and you can hold a mirror up to yourself and say like, hey, we're really good at this. We're not that good at this, but we can be. Um, that's a really good secret weapon, especially in this city. Um, like through change, I think it's more important than ever right now to be good at a lot of stuff. I know there's a smarter way to say that, but that's how I talk. Um, with AI, you could solve just about anything. If like even from marketing, you could go on there right now with a $20 Claude account and say, "Hey, write me a marketing plan that will net $100,000 in profit over the next quarter," and just feed it all sorts of stuff, and it'll get you out of there. You can make images, you can make movies, and it's just getting faster every day. The things that I'm talking to younger folks is start getting really good at like the problem solving. Because hey, if everybody has AI, then everybody has AI solutions. Like, what can you do that's better analog? How can you use your critical thinking where a computer can't? And as you start layering on those skills, they start sharpening each other. Um, if anybody knows me in real life, or anybody meets me, I get really invested into things that like help me in other stuff. I started like looking at the world in like 2020, and I'm like, man, if the grocery stores completely ran out of food, I have no idea how to grow food. So we joined a local community garden, me and my wife, and we ended up running it for years. And we learned, I had no idea how to do anything, but now I know how to grow potatoes and tomatoes. I know how to like grow vines. I was doing fresh cut flowers. This year, I grew tobacco, like didn't smoke any of it or anything, but I just thought it's a really pretty plant. So I'm like, I want to grow some tobacco. We grew corn. Like, man, I've been in Nebraska my entire life. I've never grown corn. So I wanted to try something really hard that wasn't digital, that took a lot of time, because everything is just so instant these days. So, we started this community garden. I was looking for some kind of outlet that got me off my phone. So I started doing pottery. And now it's like one of my favorite things. Like, do these skills directly relate themselves into marketing? Not exactly. You'd have to do some mental gymnastics to get there, but the concepts are the same. It's, hey, how am I using my brain in a different way? I can't AI a pot and glaze it and put it in the kiln and like understand what's going to happen to it. I can't AI a community garden, even though we used AI to help us like plot and like how to rotate things. I use it as a tool. So how do we get really good at solving problems, and how do we start layering on some skills that might not necessarily seem related, but help you with patience, critical thinking, stuff that's hard, meeting new people, and building the community. One of the things that you never ever hear inside this organization from all of our employees is that's not my job. This goes all the way from like our interns that started yesterday, all the way to the top to executive leadership and ownership. When all of our banners were in the middle of the lake, um, at Pinnacle Bank Championship, like our president was out there hiking up his pants and waiting out there to go get it. The bar and restaurant, a lot of people fantasize about like, it'd be so cool to own a bar. Like, go work in one for a couple of weeks and you will learn that like you have to have a really good passion for it, because a lot of times, back to the second slide, like it's fun until it isn't. So we have a really good culture here of making sure that nobody's above or below any job. And we're always looking out for each other and making sure that things look good and we're presenting the best foot forward. There's really no job that I will not do or haven't done inside this organization. And another big thing is I always understand the ask. So I understand people's jobs to a degree that if I ask them that, like, hey, I need this, PowerPoint presentation ready to go for tomorrow for Better Business Bureau, I know what those hours take, and I know what I'm asking that associate to do. And I always try to not put teammates in bad positions, but I also have a good understanding of like what I'm asking them to do, so they know that I've been there before, and know what they're getting into. And then curiosity. I think this is something that I like. You guys are probably all I don't know. I can't see any of you, but I'm hoping some of you guys are like over 40. But when you were on a long road trip, like you didn't have your phone and you didn't have AI and you didn't have movies built in the back of the seat. Like you just had to use your imagination while you're on, a 4 hour car ride. Maybe you had a Game Boy, but my parents weren't shelling out batteries, so I could play Game Boy on the entire trip. Um, we're always so quick to go to the phone when we get bored and to answer things. And I don't think we're taking a lot of time to like, hey, how did we get there? How did we get to that answer? Why might this be true? Why might this person be thinking like this? So, like, how are we like feeding our souls of curiosity versus just getting like empty calories of answers? Um, this is like another thing that I like to layer on is like I really like to understand how things work. I watched it was like a 4 hour documentary on Apollo 13. And it was really nerdy, really dorky, really like engineering heavy about like, hey, here are the technical things that went wrong. But I love to see how they problem solved because that's the ultimate problem solving. It's like, hey, we're hundreds of thousands of miles away. We can't like send up a repair kit or new equipment. So I always like to see how organizations solve their problems. And I think that's where that curiosity comes from is like, hey, like figure out how other people are doing this, whether in your industry or not. And then just be curious about your associates. Everything's kind of shifted online. We're in this kind of gray area. People want analog stuff, but they're also building so much infrastructure at their homes. Whether people talk a lot about like third spaces. Your home's a space, your work's a space, and then third space. Those third spaces are becoming extremely expensive. And so people are effectively building third spaces for themselves inside their home with their gym, their entertainment systems, movies, TVs, like all that. So like curiosity with your associates, it does take an extra step to like understand what they're into and how they're doing. We've had very little turnover in the 11 years that I've been here, and most of the associates, especially in leadership, have been here 6, 7, 8 years. And you look at a lot of like successful sports teams. Yeah, you can get some superstars that come on there and make a huge difference, but a lot of the teams that work really well together are the ones that have been playing together a lot. And so I always think about like who do you admire and why do you admire them? I bet if you wrote down three people that you admire, those people would fit into categories that aren't really good at just one thing, but they are multi-tool players. Like they can do a lot of stuff really, really well. And whether that's, hey, your favorite athlete, your favorite artist, your movie star, whatever. If you thought about those people, I think you would find that they do a lot of things really, really well. I know we're running out of time, but like you guys all know this, but I think it's worth repeating a lot, especially in Omaha, relationships matter. This is my biggest CRM. When I first started, I was doing a lot of cold calling, and luckily enough, now like we're in a really good position where we get to work with a lot of clients that we want to work with. If you're in major markets, you can probably go with the Kevin Bacon rule of like 6 degrees of separation. In Omaha, it is two, maybe less. Like if you're burning bridges in this town, it's a bad look because you're going to run into that person again. They're going to end up being a decision maker. They're going to be a client, a customer, or back to reputation management is what do you want people to think when they hear your brand? And that's really where we've focused on. It's really hard, especially in this town, to go find new clients. And the best thing that we've done, like as we're talking about change, and this is one of our strategies, is Let's expand. Let's expand the relationship with the folks that we currently have here. Let's find new ways and new ways to like do new business with them. And as a marketing agency, our job is to come up with new and exciting things to pitch to them. Um, and then showing up for the community, I think is it's easier said than done. And I would assume most people on this call have like big hearts and want to like support their community. But I think a lot of us find that it's hard to find the time to do that or find new and interesting ways to do it, or might just think it's too overwhelming. Um, when the tornadoes hit last year, like we gave everybody that wanted to go volunteer the day off to go volunteer and help. Our entire sports team went out to like some farm, and I helped this family like put their lives back together. Like this guy's keys and wallet were like in the middle of the cornfield, and they were able to find that. Like I, help them get the help that they needed. But little things like that, and you don't do it just because like, hey, we're gonna get a nice little marketing pop from this. Like you do it because you care about your community and you want to be involved. So finding those little ways, even if they're just micro, it's like, hey, I'm gonna pick up. This is something me and my wife do virtually every time we shop. Is we find $5 to $10 of extra foodstuffs, and there's a little free pantry on our way back from the grocery store. So if it's near Thanksgiving, like we get like turkey things, gravy things, like whatever's non-perishable, and we put them in there. Christmas time, Halloween, try to put some candy in there. But like those are little things that you can do for your community. And the last one is Omaha doesn't do transactional. Like you have to build really strong relationships with your clients, with your associates. We're so big but so small with who knows each other. Somebody had a podcast on our network last year, and it was called Somebody's Cousin. And like that's like the story. Like you go anywhere in this world, you're probably going to see somebody in a Husker hat. You're probably going to be related to them. You're probably from like same small town, probably went to prom with somebody, but like this town and this state is not transactional. So building those long-term partnerships, like that's been a way that we've been able to navigate change. The biggest thing here is like the thing that has been a lot of our secret sauce is people care, and those are the people that we seek out. I think they're the most talented marketers in the country. If that's true, I don't know, but they care and they care about what they're working on. So if people don't care, nothing works. If they do, everything does. But that's how we've navigated our change. Build something that people care about. And I'll look up everybody that is in attendance here and see what your businesses are. And yeah, if there's anything that we can ever do, I'm totally down, even if it's just advice, coffee, whatever. Like I care an awful lot about this state. I care an awful lot about this city and want it to keep growing and doing well. And that all starts with the businesses that are on this line today. So I'm open for any questions. We got a couple minutes left.
So, Chris, in regards to smaller organizations who have limited resources, how can they help expand their organization with how quickly and rapid everything's evolving around us? What resources would you tell them to use?
Yeah. So I I follow a lot of like YouTubers that are in my industry. Um, those are good ways to like find ways to implement things that you can do. Like the internet's a great place. It's a scary place sometimes, but like for the most part, like you can find really good information. Um, I don't want to beat the AI drum too much, but for smaller organizations, a $20 Claude account per month can really help you out. It can look through some of your data. It can analyze things in a different way that's really quickly. So I would start with a $20 a month Claude account and just play with it and see what you can do. Um, that's a really good place to start. And then yeah, just like building like the network and the community. Um, like if anything that I need, like I have a person for it. And I think that's really important. Even if it's just like, hey, I need somebody to come be a mirror for my organization and tell me what seems to be falling flat. So one, like I would start exploring AI because you're either going to do it now, or you're going to get forced into using it down the road. And then two, like build that community of experts that are around you that are not afraid to be honest with you about your business. Because like you can always hire and that's great, but especially in a lot of our businesses, it's 6, 12, 18 months before somebody is really making an active difference in your organization. Got to get them up to speed and like find out how they fit. But yeah, AI and then like your friends, especially in the Better Business Bureau, those are great resources to start with.
And I guess last question here, then we'll wrap it up. In regards to everything, what common mistakes do you see organizations making when they're trying to adapt too quickly?
Yep. Biggest one is waiting for it to be perfect. Like I said earlier, from the YouTube account that I love is start small, start now. Um, by people will wait literally years, and we're guilty of this too. There's like parts of this business that we should have made changes years before, but um, we were very emotional about it. Somebody had some kind of connection to it. There was something that was keeping us from, we were too busy. But a lot of folks wait for it to be perfect. Like, oh, as soon as we get through this, then we'll do it. Or as soon as we get this next big client, we'll do this. Or we have to move to the new office before we start thinking about that. Um, that's where people kind of get stuck spinning their wheels. So, like, my biggest note for that is don't wait for it to be perfect. Have a good plan, but like, there's no perfect time to do any of this. But you just have to rip the band-aid off and let her go.
Well, thank you so much, Chris. Greatly appreciate everything today. Just real quick, just wanted to remind everyone that we will be sending out that follow-up email to everyone with the presentation that Chris had today, but also with a link to this webinar. There'll also be a survey link for you. We ask for your feedback and we greatly appreciate the feedback. It helps us to be able to continue giving you what you would like to see and to be educated on. So please fill that out. Let us know how and what your thoughts are. Special thank you to everyone for your time today and for joining us, and hoping that you're able to take one key thing away from Chris today and applying it to your business. And a special thank you to you, Chris, as well, for your expertise and helping us learn more about building the brand just like Hurrdat did. So thank you so much. Again, if you guys have any questions, please feel free, let me know, and we'll get that email over to you within the next 24 hours. Thanks so much, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.